Story 1, Bandung Medical Centre. This one is from my friend, who supposedly received a challenge from his group, because he needed to boost his courage to ask a girl out. Yeah, the idea is pretty ridiculous, but his story is real. Let's just call him Dion. He has had a long-time crush on his friend, Ayu, and when he found out that his crush likes men who do something extraordinary, he was dared by his friend to go the extra mile, hoping that his story would at least spark a conversation with her. As a starting point, Bandung Medical Centre, or BMC, is a hospital that stands as a silent sentinel in the heart of Bandung, cloaked in an aura of mystery and unspoken tales. Once envisioned as a bustling center of healing and care, BMC now lies dormant, its corridors and wards echoing with the remnants of a past both rich and tumultuous. Abandoned midway through renovation, following the untimely demise of its owner, this once promising medical facility has become a magnet for paranormal and ghostly encounters. His story is in 2015, when everyone is talking about BMC. He arrives at 11:00 p.m., which is almost midnight. Here is his story. I got there, and the security guy was giving me this look, like, "Are you serious, man?" He tells me no one's been brave enough to do this alone before. But hey, I was already there, so I just went for it. The first 15 minutes were a breeze. I was just walking around the ground floor, thinking this was going to be easy. Feeling a bit more daring, I headed up to the second floor. Nothing weird, just a strange, heavy feeling in the air. So I pushed onto the third floor, right? Still quiet, but it felt like something was off, like the silence was too thick or something. Now, here's where it got real. I was about to head up to the fourth floor when I saw this figure in a white gown just standing there. Man, it scared the crap out of me. I bolted back down to the first floor. But you know me, I wasn't going to chicken out. So I decided to go to the most haunted spot, the baby room, right in front of the operation room. As I'm walking down the hallway, I start hearing this faint laughter. My grandpa always said if you hear a ghost laughing, and it's quiet, it's bad news, means they're close. And this was faint. I quickly pulled out my phone, and dude, I'm not kidding. In the reflection, I saw her, this woman all in red, following me. I quickened my steps and entered the baby room. Once I got there, that's when things got really freaky. I felt this little hand, like a baby's hand, tugging on mine. I shine my flashlight down, and there's nothing there. But then I hear this baby crying. Mama. It was the creepiest thing ever. I didn't wait around, just ran out of there as fast as I could. So, yeah, that's what happened. I made it out, heart racing like crazy. I told my friends waiting outside, and they could see I was seriously freaked out. I'm a tough guy, but that was something else. It's one thing to talk about ghost stories, but being in one? Nah, that's a whole different level. I still can't shake off the sound of that baby crying. So, let's just say I'm done with haunted dares for a while. That is his story. Whether he decided to tell the story to his crush or not, I do not know. Currently, in 2024, BMC was already renovated and renamed Pasundan Hospital. Story 2. About a patient who is taken care of by a supposedly dead nurse at Dr. Suotomo Hospital. I got this story from my online friend. His name is Bayu, and he experienced this one himself. He was at Dr. Suotomo Hospital in 2018. So, I've got this story about something bizarre that happened to me in the hospital. A few days after my surgery, I was getting better and was gearing up to head home soon. That particular night, I was alone in my room. My family was all tied up with their stuff, so there I was, just me, myself, and I, in this hospital room. It was raining outside, and the clock struck 10 p.m. Man, I was feeling bored out of my mind and decided to step out for a bit, get some fresh air. I quietly left my room and started wandering down the hospital corridors. There were still a few visitors around and some nurses doing their rounds. I eventually ended up in this long, empty hallway and stopped in front of an elevator with an out-of-order sign on it. But here's the weird part. I heard the sound of the elevator moving, like it was coming down. It totally gave me the chills, and I just bolted back to my room and dived under the covers. Not long after, I heard the door to my room open, and then someone softly greeted me with a good night. I thought it must be one of the night nurses. So, I peeked out, and there was this nurse in uniform. I'd never seen her before, but she was really nice, so I didn't think much of it. One thing was odd, though she was wearing this small hat, which I'd never seen any other nurse wear before. Anyway, she checked on me, saying my blood pressure was normal, and the wound from the surgery was healing fine. She even told me to be careful and not to wander too far to keep my health in check. After giving me some medicine, she told me to get some rest and said she'd watch over me. She sat right next to my bed for the night. The next morning, I woke up alone. The nurse from last night was gone. Soon after, 2 other nurses came in to check on me. I mentioned the nurse from the night before, said her name was Sister Maria, and how she stayed with me all night. These 2 nurses looked surprised. Apparently, there was no schedule for a health check for me last night. Hearing the name Sister Maria, they didn't seem shocked, more like they were used to hearing it. After they left, I just couldn't shake off this weird feeling about who Sister Maria really was. Then, just before I was about to go home, I found out that Sister Maria was a well-loved and super kind nurse who had actually died in an elevator accident a few years back. Rumor has it, she still shows up, greeting patients and sometimes even watching over them. I was in shock, man. I couldn't believe I'd been accompanied by the spirit of a kind-hearted nurse last night. That whole experience was just surreal. Story 3. Paranormal activities in Sosodoro Jatikusumo, Regional General Hospital, Bojonegoro. The story comes from a security guard who guards the place 24/7. He prefers to be anonymous. You won't believe the things I've seen and heard around this old hospital building. I'm the security guard for the former Sosodoro Jatikusumo building in Bojonegoro, East Java. Yeah, the hospital moved to this fancy new place on Veteran Street. But the old building on Dr. Wahideen Street? That's where the weird stuff happens. So, this building has been empty for a while, but we still keep an eye on it 24/7. About 5 years ago, there was this vendor who used to sell stuff near the old hospital. One day, he hears the generator kick on. Strange, right? He comes to me and asks why it's on. I tell him I have no clue. Nobody's in there. So how could it start up on its own? But that's not the creepiest part. People around here, they've seen things. Like, there's this story of an old man with long hair who crawls around the hallways. He never shows his face, just appears out of nowhere. Gives me the chills just thinking about it. And the noises. Folks have heard music and singing coming from inside the empty building. It's eerie, you know? There's not supposed to be anyone in there. Then, there's this tale about a taxi driver who dropped off a passenger one night. He thought he was taking them to the reception of the new hospital, but they ended up at the old building. But here's the kicker. There was this rumor that went around a while back. People said a woman gave birth in the old hospital building, right in the morgue. Sounds crazy, right? Well, it goes like this. A husband takes his wife to what he thinks is the active hospital. Turns out, they end up at the old place. She actually has her baby there, and the husband doesn't even realize it until he's chatting with a coffee vendor nearby. The vendor tells him that the hospital hasn't been in operation for ages. The guy rushes back, and yep, his wife had given birth in the morgue. Creepy, huh? They said the umbilical cord was missing, like someone or something took it. Luckily, the baby was fine, but you can imagine how freaked out they were. I mean, who wouldn't be? Giving birth in a morgue, in an abandoned hospital. And then finding out that the place has been shut down for years? That's some spooky stuff. And you can bet I keep my eyes wide open when I do my rounds here. This old hospital, it's got its secrets, that's for sure. Thank you for watching, and remember, stay curious and stay safe.